If you are going to build a community, if you are going to accommodate change, the best way to do that is through sharing ideas in conversation.
At risk, we talked about having real conversations of change.
NDIS gives us the opportunity to unleash the hope and potential that exists in people's lives.
But this week in Parliament, we've had legislation to introduce a new tax which will raise $3.3 billion in its first year, sailed through the House of Representatives without a division.
And we can continue to evolve the vision. We don't have to think that the 2011 is the kind of, or 2013 is the kind of end point of human history. There's more yet beyond us, but we have to kind of dare to kind of look beyond where we've got to today. So the vision can evolve, and thankfully it does evolve, because we should question our earlier vision. I remember when we first got people out of institutions, it seemed so much better than the institution. Until of course you see that the ideas of the 1970s look a little dated today, sort of a group home in every pot, and yet we're still building group homes in 2013 when we can offer people all kinds of other alternatives. So in a sense, for some people at least, the vision is still back in the 1970s and 80s. People have not moved past that.
We don't want to create an agency which is simply somewhere where people again become dependent. What we needed Imagine Better to do was to ensure that people with disabilities and their families stayed in control of their lives.
Also, part of that value proposition is if you do person-centred stuff properly, enable people to use their abilities and do more, become more independent, actually the level of support can be less.
In all of the organisations I work with and support around the world, really, every agency is person-centred. Have you noticed that? In fact, you'd be a very brave agency, wouldn't you, to say you weren't. But when you look at the agencies, in fact, every decision of any, value at all essentially is made before you even know who the people are you're going to serve. Your contracts are signed, your programs are set, your staff are employed, your budget's determined, your volumes, your numbers, your client group, all of this. And if there's anything left over, well, we'll let the person with a disability decide about that, maybe, so long as it fits with the program.
It won't be in some kind of formal, person-centered planning exercise alone. And it may be a shocker to some of you, but whole civilizations have come and gone without person-centered plans. So we don't want to put our money just on that horse. You can have a good life without a person-centered plan.
At the time, institutionalisation was fine. Everybody thought it was marvellous. They worked hard to get it up and going, and then it sort of all collapsed, and then they moved into normalisation, social relations, integration, inclusion, and now person-centred. So I sort of put the notion now, well, is it person-centred or customer-centric?
So as I mentioned, all of our services are individualised. We have no group living arrangements at all. What that means is it doesn't mean that people with a disability don't share or live together. What's fundamental to people with a disability coming to live together is how they come together. So what happens in WA is you'll get funded, 4 people may get funded, and then people will try and match those 4 people to live together. What we say is we won't do that at my place. If you know a person that's a friend of yours, or as a brother or a sister, or you work with that person and you want to share a house together, then we'll support you to live together. So we're not saying people with disabilities can't live together, we're just saying how you come together is a thing. So we will get families will say to us, I want my son and daughter to live with another person with a disability, can you go and recruit someone? And I'll say, no, we can't. I'll say, if you've got a friend or someone, then we will do that. So that's fundamental to how we set arrangements up.
On the back of that said, patients to be listened to. Just want people to listen to us a bit more. And that all of that then was saying is just and so was Celeste, is that's just that really big culture change and that letting go, as Darren was saying, that letting go of our power.
We do need to train everybody, and I mean everybody, in person-centred tools and approaches. That includes not only the direct support staff, but the leaders of the organisation, the backroom staff, everybody. I think that's really important. So you get that same culture across an organisation. And that my favourite word to describe this is congruence. So for me, an organisation has to look congruent. So what the leader of an organisation does, what he says, how he behaves, needs to be the same as what's happening with the support workers and the people that they're supporting.
You know, I sort of think innovation in a way is kind of like being on a diet. If you don't tell anyone, you're going to go and eat one of those little pies, aren't you? Because you think, oh no one's going to know it. But if you tell everybody, then you engage your allies. Then you will have other people, you know, when you go to get that pie, come up and say to you, hang on, I thought you were doing this. Well, you can't do this and this. And this is some of the things that I think agencies struggle with, and it's what you would call coherency to your vision. So that to me is another very important aspect of innovation. I bet all of the agencies in this room have got mission statements that are superb. But how often do you sit down and say, is what we're doing today taking us to that?
We as a service, we're like family to these people. And I if I hear any of our staff don't say that, we're not family. We're paid to be in people's lives, so we're very clear about those boundaries, about where we stand. We're friendly and we're really nice and we get on really well with people, but we're not a substitute family. Their family is their family, and that's what we always encourage.
You're talking across the 8 reports about 12,500 pages. The reality is it's about, you can worry about all the recommendations of the NDIS, and personally I don't worry about all the detail of the NDIS, neither here nor there. Bureaucrats will make the rules, all get sorted out. It's the environment that's going to be created, that's the real issue. What's the environment that we're going to be operating in? Because we've got to learn to adapt to a new environment.
In the new world, there will be many opportunities for growth. And some of those opportunities should be refused and others should be embraced.
What happens is the person with a disability, the employee connects with the person with a disability, not with the organisation. So the relationship is very strong in terms of what happens there. So really, whilst the contract is there to ensure that you get a regular income and annual leave and things like that, if that's what's contained in the contract, it's a very minor part of that arrangement, because what we say is if the person doesn't want you in their home, then you surely don't want to be in their home, because it's not working. The relationship is breaking down and it's not working. So the way we manage that, to answer the question, is we just be upfront and honest and tell people this is what it is, and people have a choice. They don't have to enter into it. They don't have to work with that person. They can come and work for My Place, the organisation, where we have, you know, all the industrial agreements that we have to have. So, but our evidence is that people in shared management are way better at employing their own people than what we are. They pay them higher than what we do because they've got more money, so they do, and they want to keep them because they know that if this person doesn't turn up to get me out of bed, I'm not getting out of bed. So they can't ring My Place and say, can you provide a staff member? Because we say, well, you're the employer, not us. So that's how we get around that, is by being upfront and absolutely honest. And we've had legal advice, and we've got template documents that people can use. So it does give people some surety, but it does sit outside industrial relations, and we explain the reasons why we do that. So
do you provide or offer the common law contract as well?
Yes. Yeah.
And then we can learn about that. I think one of the other things that agencies can be very, very effective in doing and bringing around change is forming bureaucratic shields. How do you make your bureaucracy more user-friendly? And so that the bureaucracy and the requirements and the policies and all of these things that you're dealing with over here are not impacting on the lives of people. People can still actually get on with their lives, and you manage the shield between your reporting to government and the life opportunities that people are having. I think that's one of the real key things to think.
It shouldn't be forgotten also that perhaps self-funders or other people are prepared to pay for quality. We know ourselves, don't we, that we will pay for quality, and that shouldn't be forgotten, I don't think. And I think that value proposition becomes more important as people take on individual budgets.
I think this issue of needs, we need to be careful we don't get confused about it. I would not advocate that you abandon needs because we all have them. What I would say you abandon is deficits. And ask, if you start to confront needs more broadly, you get a much better sense of what a person actually needs. And what we tend to confront is the deficits of people. And therefore we build our whole structures around taking care of the deficits, but we don't ask ourselves the question, what's the person's need for love, what's the person's need for contribution, what's the person's need for relationship, what's the person's need for a sense of future, because they are equally needs, that they are kind of the fundamental needs that actually need to be taken care of. They are what you would be at all of our ordinary needs. Then you look at what are the particular needs, therefore, that this individual person might have.
My name is Shirley and I am from Northcott. Living with a disability can be challenging. Sometimes society looks down on us and doesn't see our abilities. When others see our abilities, they will think we are like everyone and have skills and then they'll want to learn more. I wish instead of disability, it should be like see ability.